Hey, masses. How's it going? We've got a good group in the chat room today, actually. Meet Jeremy Kaplan, first time on Daily Tech News Show.
First time? I'm very excited.
Thanks for being here, man. All right, we're going to get the audio version going here in a second, so just give me one moment.
Australians, have you ever wondered what a nickel is? Apparently it's 5 cents, so give it to Tom at patreon.com/acedetect.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, June 24th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Jeremy Kaplan, Editor-in-Chief of Digital Trends, digitaltrends.com. You've heard us cite them before on the show. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jeremy's going to be doing a panel at CE Week. We'll be talking to folks from CE Week all this week. We're going to talk to Jeremy about some of the things we might be hearing from his panel. It's not like he has all the answers, but really interesting stuff about where the medical industry is going versus the wearables industry and what we hear. Yeah, I imagine you've been digging into this a little bit in preparation.
Absolutely, you're right. It's a weird collision too, because you've got device manufacturers that are saying, well, here, I can do this right now. Let me start creating these things. And as soon as you start talking health, there's all this regulation that gets wrapped up in it. You've got a bunch of companies that have long histories. So it's really fascinating to watch what's going on right now.
Bunch of people in our chat room yelling HIPAA immediately as soon as you bring that up.
Of course.
All right, let's take a look at the headlines. Digital Trends reports Nest Labs released a new smart home API to let developers make their devices work well with Nest's devices. So do things like your car can tell the Nest thermostat to warm up the house as you're headed home. Your light bulbs can glow red if the smoke alarm detects something alarming. Mercedes-Benz, Jawbone, Whirlpool, LifeX, IFT, Logitech have all already released new Nest-compatible features for some of their products. The API is open to iOS and Android developers. And Jeremy, we'll definitely hear more about this during I/O, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a huge push. It's interesting to watch as companies vie. You know, just we're talking about the healthcare space. This is the other space where there's just explosive stuff going on. And I think what we're going to see is a bunch of companies competing to be the backbone, the provider for everything. Nest seems to be in a really good space for that.
And Nest seems to kind of say, hey, we're not just a thermostat, now we're the hub for everything, which is an interesting position to put themselves in.
Especially because they were just a thermostat.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it's so much more. It's not just a thermostat.
We're not just, don't call us a thermostat. I'm waiting for that one if they haven't said it already. Bloomberg Businessweek published an interview with Google's head of Android, Sundar Pichai, in which he said the next version of Android will be previewed at Google I/O tomorrow. The decision to preview Android's L-named version at I/O instead of waiting until fall was made, Pichai said, in an effort to be more transparent. However, we will have to wait until tomorrow to find out what dessert will become the name. Lemon meringue, lady fingers, Lorna Doone biscuits.
I'm going with lollipop. It's got to be lollipop.
That's a winner right there.
Although Lemonhead, they could have a partnership with the candy company. I don't know.
I think we've got both bases covered, right? We thought it was going to be key lime pie, but then they went Kit Kat with the partnership. If they've got a partnership with Lemonhead, well, yeah, that's obviously the way to go.
I got a person calling the Lemonhead company right now. We will find out the answers to these and more questions.
Excellent. Check out digitaltrends.com for more.
Bloomberg's 5.0. Why are we going to 4.5? What's happened to 5.0? Can't we just move on?
Well, they just kind of throw those version numbers out ad hominem, I've noticed. They'll do point upgrades without changing the name, then they'll do like full version upgrades. I don't know if there's a marketing reason behind that. It doesn't seem to be.
There has to be some logic behind it. Maybe as if version 5.0 would have some massive ramifications that they're just afraid to embrace. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, because you always want them. You always think that they're going to go higher numbers because higher numbers sounds like they're farther along, right? But to
Witness
pull
Firefox.
back, yeah, yes, exactly. What are they at 75 at this point?
Exactly.
Bloomberg's been talking to people familiar with the plans, and they say Apple's plans begin mass production of its largest iPhones ever next month. The people say the plans include one model with a 4.7-inch display for shipment in September. The new phone will also be rounder and thinner. An alleged 5.5-inch model has alleged production complications, and so allegedly might not make it out this year. Sewell2 submitted the story on subreddit. We always have to acknowledge these sorts of things, especially when they come from Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal or places like that. Do you think we'll get a bigger iPhone, Jeremy?
it's inevitable that we get a bigger iPhone. I mean, if you look at the iPhones that we have today, they just feel small in comparison to what everyone is using, especially with the phablets. Personally, I find phablets to be weird, but the rest of the world seems to love them, so I don't know. It's only a matter of time, if you ask me.
I guess the question really should be, because you're right, we're totally getting a bigger one. How big do you think they'll go?
I think 5.0 is really the perfect size. Personally, I'm a Nexus 5 user. I think that this is just the pinnacle of phones. I just love this thing. You get some of those Samsung Galaxies, they just get to be a little bit too large, if you ask me. And I can't see Apple putting out something gigantic just to be bigger. So 5 would be a nice bump from where they currently are.
Yeah, 4.7 seems logical. That pretty much rounds to 5. So yeah, I'm with you there. The next web has the fact that Microsoft has announced a new Android phone. They really have. This is not a rumor. It's called the Nokia X2. It's the first phone launched by Microsoft since they acquired Nokia's handset division. The phone has a 4.3-inch touchscreen, 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor, 5-megapixel rear-facing camera, dual SIM, and 15 gigabytes of storage. I think that's accounting for things that are pre-installed, so it's probably a 16-gigabyte hard drive in there. It's available immediately for 99 euros in select countries. A lot of people making hay about this being an Android phone from Microsoft, Jeremy, but I figure this was just already in the pipeline, right?
It must have been, yeah. That's the only explanation. Otherwise, it's like Ford selling a Hyundai.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't happen. Or Hershey coming by and saying, here's a Baby Ruth. You want this Baby Ruth?
Does Hershey not make Baby Ruth? That's impressive knowledge of candy there.
I have no idea.
The next web reports WeChat has introduced an unsend feature that lets you pull back a message within 2 minutes of pressing send. The update is live on iOS and coming soon to Android. The iOS version of Weixin, WeChat's counterpart in China, also got an update allowing users to deposit money into a digital wallet and then transfer the money to friends or make payments without leaving the app. TechCrunch reports the FAA has clarified its stance against allowing commercial uses of drones for package delivery. In a document soliciting feedback on drone policy, the FAA made it clear that, quote, if an individual offers free shipping in association with a purchase or other offer, the FAA would construe the shipping to be in furtherance of a business purpose, and thus the operation would not fall within the statutory requirement of recreation or hobby purpose. Jeff Bezos' ears must be burning.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm still having a hard time picturing a world where drones are whizzing around from door to door. And Bezos seems so serious about it, too.
And even he says they're years and years away from actually being able to implement this. So sure. It is kind of a piece of comedy to think about the FAA like seriously pointing to Amazon. Like, none of your Amazon Prime stuff is going to get you out of this. No drones.
But even if it's, let's say it's 10 years down the road, let's say they have a concrete idea, and 10 years down the road they're going to do this, I still can't picture it. Like, I'm walking from my building to my office, and there are 17 drones whizzing around my head. It just seems horrible. It seems really dangerous. I don't get it.
It's a good question. Like, what is the density going to be? And it's going to be different in different places, right? You're out in Nebraska, you'll see a drone, fly up every once in a while. But yeah, downtown Manhattan, you're likely to have a higher concentration of them. I mean, look at my bicycle messengers today. Imagine each one of those becoming a drone.
Yeah, it's hard to conceive of. And unless there's some sort of regulation about, this part of the airspace is safe and up there is not safe. And I understand why the FAA is weighing in on it. I don't understand what Amazon is thinking. I'm mystified.
You've pretty much crystallized what the FAA is thinking right there. Exactly. Time for some news from you. This is folks in the audience. If you haven't participated in the subreddit, go check it out, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. It's where folks submit stories for consideration, and everybody else gets to vote on them, up or down. And we take a look at that and pull some of those stories out that are getting high numbers of votes to share with you guys. TM204 has the top story on the subreddit today from Computer World. It seems that folks who shelled out $1,450 for the Chromebook Pixel last year were promised 2 years of free Verizon LTE service. Now, it was only 100 megabytes a month, but it was free service for 2 years. And now that it's been 1 year since most of these early adopters activated their Pixels, the Verizon service has stopped working unless you pay for a subscription. Computer World's J.R. Raphael called Verizon support and Google Play and has received no definitive answer as to why this would be. I'm a little befuddled myself. I mean, they very clearly said 2 years, and the Verizon people that he talked to seem to have no idea about it.
Yeah, I was reading through this story, and it's just, It's disgusting, is what it is. I mean, the documentation is very clear, and there is still some evidence you can find which shows, and it reads very clearly, 2 years, and now they're saying no. There was a follow-on story that went on to say, here, I've got a quote from it. Oh, Google is offering a $150 rebate to those people, and they're saying, and I quote, "It is out of our control," meaning, oh, Verizon, thanks a lot, you jerks.
So somebody didn't read the agreement the same way as somebody else here, and there's a class action lawsuit coming. You can.
There has to be. It's just ridiculous. You can't do that.
gardnervh posted the TechCrunch story that an amendment to the Constitution of the United States state of Missouri is being proposed. The state legislature has proposed adding electronic communications and data to the section prohibiting unreasonable search and seizure and requiring a warrant and probable cause for reasonable searches. Citizens of Missouri will vote on the amendment in August. Probably is going to pass. I think if TechCrunch said this as well, and from what I can tell, they're right. You only need a simple majority for an amendment to be added to the Constitution in Missouri. They're going to get it.
Seems easy enough. But let me ask you, Tom. Maybe you know more about legal matters than I do. But my understanding is that this is already illegal. I don't think you can. I don't think the government can just parse through our data right now.
I'm certainly not a lawyer, but you're right. There have also been cases, though, where judges have said, well, that's public information. That, sending an email through an email service is no different than having made a telephone call, and so pen registers and things like that. There's been different rulings on what is considered private information and therefore what is susceptible to unreasonable search and seizure. What this seems to say is we're going to make it explicit that your electronic communications and your data are private. Doesn't matter if you sent an email or if some judge wants to say, well, data is a different thing. We're just going to lock it all down. So I think they're just trying to close some loopholes with that. Because you're right. Theoretically, it would be illegal already.
Well, if there's some gray area and they need to close that up, I mean, by all means. We're all terrified of the NSA, who's probably listening in on this podcast right now.
Hey, guys. Good to see you. Techie Noob posted the Gizmodo story that MIT engineers have created a nanomaterial that will withstand the force of 160,000 times its weight. A repeating geometric lattice was designed to be stiff but light, makes it about 400 times as strong as most materials of the same density. Researchers suggest it could be used in space or for battery construction or pretty much anything that needs high strength and low weight.
So this is the other Spider-Man suit, right? The black one that's super strong?
Yes.
What does nanotech do? It's astounding. Every day there's something new from the nanospace. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and they always throw these in like could be used for batteries. I'm still waiting, but maybe this will be the one. You never know.
Or maybe every building will suddenly weigh nothing.
Yeah, and it'll make it easy for the drones to pick them up and move them around.
Now we're thinking.
metalfreak posted the Wired story describing hacking team modules discovered by researchers working independently of each other. Actually, Kaspersky Lab in Russia and Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto's Munk School of Global Affairs both discovered these modules. The hacking team provides software to governments and law enforcement agencies. Among the modules uncovered are ones that can activate microphones, take pictures, intercept email and text messages, and log keystrokes on Android and iOS phones. Now, you do have to make some sort of physical connection, but I think the scenario that scares me, Jeremy, is the idea that if you plug in to charge by USB into a computer that has been compromised, then your phone could be owned and jailbroken without your knowledge, essentially, and have these modules installed. And every time I see those USB ports at airports, I'm always wondering, like, what's under there? What am I connecting to?
And you're right. And when I read the story, with my last little shred of hope that the government wasn't doing some horrible things, just kind of crumpled up in a little ball and collapsed. Some company is creating these modules for spyware, and they're just selling them to the government, and governments are just saying okay with that. I don't know. I'm continually horrified, and it's just disgusting.
Well, I
don't want to be spied on. What can I say?
Wrap it up on that hopeful note. Let's look at the headlines. I want to let folks know about the Daily Tech News Show shirts that are out there. Mustafa from thepolarcat.com made our logo for us. I'm always eternally thankful for that. And we put that logo on a shirt. You can get it in white, Splack and Ash in the podcast section of slashloot.com. That's SLASHLOOT.com. They've got tons of podcast shirts from lots of different shows on the Frog Pants Network, lots of different artwork from folks like Scott Johnson, so check it out. And if you want, pick up a Daily Tech News Show shirt at slashloot.com. All right, we got a few things in the news today regarding wearable tech, sort of related to healthcare. In fact, the SoundHawk piece is probably the closest one. They have a device called the Scoop. That's an in-ear device with a smartphone app that allows you to do selective hearing. Now, this is emblematic of what we were talking about earlier, Jeremy, in that they're not marketing it as a hearing aid or even for people who need hearing aids because they don't want to deal with the regulation.
Right, exactly. And I think it's actually from a person who used to work at Resound, which is one of the companies that's on the panel.
Founder.
The founder, right, which is part of the panel that I'm going to be hosting on Thursday. What's interesting about this device, yeah, it's not a hearing aid. It's a personal hearing assistant, and you can tune the different levels of the sound around you to try to tune in different things, which sounds to me kind of like what you do with your TV set. Turn the contrast up a little bit, turn the brightness down a little bit, and then you're down a rabbit hole and you're spending hours and hours doing that. Sort of a nightmare scenario, frankly.
Well, I like that it comes with a microphone that you can. It makes sense. Like you could set it by the TV, and then you'd be able to hear the TV better. Or you could clip it. You could ask someone, "Can you please wear this during dinner so that I can hear what you're saying?"
But it also makes sense though, because you talk about hearing aids, and it instantly becomes a very, very expensive proposition. And if this is something that they can sell for $500 or $1,000 instead of $50,000, that's a big savings for people.
We also got news about the Misfit tracking app coming to Pebble, and this is interesting because Misfit makes a device kind of like a Fitbit. It's called the Shine. It's a little device that you carry around, and it tracks your footsteps and your running and all of that sort of stuff. You don't need that device if you get the Misfit app on the Pebble. The Pebble will take care of that for you. And Misfit's CEO said, "Look, we don't want to get sunk by a dying industry," sort of saying, those tracking devices are sort of the PDAs of our generation and will go away. This stuff's going to be subsumed by other devices.
I think he's looking a little bit far ahead at this point. I think the tracking market is poised to continue exploding, and I think lots and lots of people are going to buy those over the holiday season. But yeah, the point is, where is this all going to go? Because we can't all just be walking around with Fitbits on our arms or Nike, whatever it is, Fuel Bands. There's a lot of other technology that's going into these things. And as they start talking to each other, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the whole health space. And then at what point are these things going to start talking to our iPhones and to everything else that we're carrying around?
Well, and that's what I think will be interesting at your panel that you're doing on Thursday at CE Week. It's Thursday, right? I think I've got that right.
Exactly.
You've got Apple with HealthKit. You've got Apple out there hiring executives from biosensor engineering firms. You've got Google demonstrating that contact lens earlier this year. Whether it makes it to market or not, it shows that that's where part of their research is directed, is that kind of medical device, glucose sensing device. You've got Samsung with their Sammy Health platform that they announced at the end of the May. You have all of these tech companies sort of circling around the health industry, and Google's even stuck its toe in the water before and pulled it out with their Google Health initiative. I'm going to be interested to know what your folks on your panel think about how they're able to bridge that gap, because as we've mentioned a couple times now, a whole world of regulation comes into play when you're actually making a medical device.
Yeah, exactly. And the other company you didn't mention was WebMD, which announced, I think it was last week, that they're going to start aggregating the data from all these different devices and rating you and giving you scores based on that. Very interesting to see companies starting to talk to each other. One of the people on the panel is the president of the Personal Connected Health Alliance, and what they do is create standards such that these devices can pass around the same types of information. Because right now Fitbit might not be sending the same information that, say, a Basis smartwatch sends. And this is what I'm looking forward to talking to these guys about, because on one level we're talking about devices that we're all wearing around for ourselves, but very quickly you get into this world where, oh, my doctor might need this information. And does the doctor know how to interpret the information from a Fitbit in the same way that it's a Basis? And what if you have diabetes and that information is being sucked in as well? All of this stuff needs to be in some way smoothed out and evened and shipped over to them in a precise and simple way. So that's, I think, what we're going to have to, what the industry itself is going to have to work on.
Yeah, I can definitely see a scenario where one doctor says, I don't trust that stuff, I'm not convinced, I'm not going to use it, and then another doctor, maybe a second opinion, maybe a specialist, says, oh yeah, I'm familiar with this, I've worked with it a lot, I know its quirks, and I know how to interpret it. You'd like it to be a lot more standard than that. You'd also like to make sure that if you do share that information with your doctor, that it's only your doctor that keeps it. Privacy regulation is going to be huge here.
Yeah, and if you have a company like WebMD or Google or Apple that's in the middle of that, I'm sure they're going to claim they're not doing anything with your data, or we're just aggregating it into some other people's data. I hate that word. Don't you aggregating your data. Stay away from my data regardless.
Your data's totally anonymous, Jeremy. None of the other data knows it's yours.
Yeah, sure. I believe that. I really do. You know what? Funny aside, I was talking to a guy 2 days ago who wears a device. He has a medical condition, and it's not a medical device. It's like a Fitbit. It's a health gadget, and it told him that he was having an incident, a heart attack, and it said go to the hospital. He goes down to the hospital. He's in the emergency room for several hours. The actual doctors say, no, that was just a false report. You're fine. Nothing to worry about.
Oh yeah, that's not good. And now was this a medical device or was a consumer electronics device?
It was a consumer electronics device. I forget exactly what condition he had. I forget what the device was. So my story's not so useful. But you see,
but still, I could see it happening. And I could easily see a consumer electronics device wanting to. Well, I was about to say I could see it wanting to err on the side of being safe and saying, hey, this may be happening, rather than you suing them later because you had a heart attack and it didn't alert you. But what's even safer is making a device that's like, we don't make any claims to be able to tell you that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would sue either way.
Well, that's most Americans right there, right?
Challenging space they're working in. And speaking of suing, so the other big issue that we're going to see here is the insurance one. You and I were talking about this before. I mean, as these devices can monitor very closely what's going on with you on a day-to-day basis, if I take in too many calories, that's a health risk for me. And does my insurance company somehow know about that? And do I get charged for that?
Right. Well, that's the fear. The promise, if it's done right, and I'm not saying it will be, but if it's done right, it could actually work to bring premiums down. To say like, we don't know what your habits are, so we're going to charge you at this level. But if you do share your data with us, then we'll see, and we'll have a more accurate representation of your risks, and that will bring your premiums down. People aren't going to want to do that though, because they're going to be like, yeah, you say that, but as soon as you see all of the cupcakes that I eat every day, you're going to jack that up.
Yeah, it's sort of like a safe driver premium. If you don't get into any accident for a year or 2 years, all of a sudden your premiums come down, and that would be great to see.
Well,
here we can do it on a daily or maybe weekly basis. If you exercised very religiously, your health is going to be better, and therefore they shouldn't charge you as much.
Yeah,
I love it.
But then only the healthy people are going to be sharing their data, and that's going to skew everything.
This is true. That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know that they're recording videos of the panels and everything, but if folks want to find out more about CE Week, you head on over to ceweek.com and check it out. You can also follow CE Week. Oh, it's ceweekny.com. Don't forget the NY. You can also follow CE Week NY on Twitter as well. Looking forward to what your guests say on the panel, Jeremy. Yeah,
it should be fascinating. I've got a million questions to ask these people. And there's a lot of thorny issues, too. So I'm looking to see what the audience asks as well. There's just so many different issues.
CE Week continues in New York City. Check out ceweekny.com. Also tomorrow, Google I/O begins. The two-day developer conference begins at 9 a.m. with a keynote. Sundar Pichai will be on stage. One doesn't know if Sergey Brin will parachute in at any point or not, but he probably will make an appearance. And the best of the conference video will be posted on the Google I/O homepage at google.com/events/IO. Pick of the day comes from Alan Steinberger called Cloak. He says, I have a simple solution for auto-connecting to Wi-Fi hotspots. We were talking about Comcast, AT&T Wi-Fi hotspots, some of the risks associated with them. He's like, not to sound like a shill for Cloak VPN at getcloak.com, but they rolled out an extremely effective Connect on Demand feature a few months ago. When I'm out and about, every time my iPad finds a Starbucks or a Time Warner or other recognized hotspot, it automatically comes on. When I'm home or in another trusted location, Cloak stays off. I only need the 5 GB a month plan, which is inexpensive, and I found the Cloak team in general, and Dave Peck in particular, to be most helpful and responsive. So I'm going to take a look at this too. GetCloak.com.
I'm taking a note right now.
You're taking a what?
taking notes right now. Getcloak.com.
Yeah, it's I have not used it myself, but it's recommended by our listener Alan, so it's worth checking out. I use Private Tunnel. Do you use another VPN besides a corporate one yourself, or just rely on that?
We don't even have a corporate VPN. My data's all out there.
Don't tell them that. Yeah, when I'm at the airport, man, or hotels, I'm always using a VPN. I'm paranoid.
Well, and rightly so.
DailyTechNewsShow.com/picks for more information on those. A couple emails to wrap us up here. We got some feedback on two of our outstanding questions from yesterday. Josh Smith and Jamie Brand both wrote in about the parking app situation in San Francisco. Josh and Jamie basically agreed. Jamie says, I understand that a startup cannot charge money for a parking space owned by the city. However, what is to stop an app developer from creating an app that stayed within the lines, so to speak, but charged money for monetization reasons? For instance, an app that allows you to choose the parking lot UR app, shows you currently which spots are free based on a check-in, check-out system, and gives you a percentage full on any given parking lot. You wouldn't be paying for a spot, per se. You'd be supporting the developer who provided the service. There's some problems with that if you pay per spot, because you want that information to be current, and if people have to pay to use it, then it's not going to be that current because not enough people are going to be using it. But you certainly could do an ad-supported version of that. I think that's what Josh had been suggesting, where you just make an app that says, hey, everybody use this, kind of like Waze, and then maybe you just pay for the app or we have some ads on it, but we'll tell you where the open parking spots are. Santa Monica actually does this. The city of Santa Monica has an app that will tell you which of its parking lots that are operated by the city have open spaces at any given moment.
It's one of the things that I think California is doing pretty well, actually. We don't have anything like that here in New York City, and I would love it. I would love it, because I'm the guy moving my car back and forth across the street every day.
Oh yeah, with street cleaning and it's a nightmare sometimes, depending on what cities you live. Yeah. And regarding the Wi-Fi conundrum that we were talking about in our pick, William O'Neill wrote in, Xfinity Wi-Fi cable _Wi-Fi actually only requires a sign-in once per device ever, while the prevailing guess is that it's MAC address based. You only enter your password once and your device continues to be recognized even after wipes and reformats. While this has its own host of theoretical troubles, a sold device is still associated with you, a MAC address can be spoofed, etc., it does at least prevent you from having to risk your Comcast password every time you go on a network. I've actually run an openwireless.org network for a couple of years now, and while I'll occasionally spot a device online, I don't think the biggest battle is in expanding the network to homes, etc. For me, the real potential of the movement is getting rid of pointless EULAs, AUPs, etc. on free wireless. This means a no interaction connection to Wi-Fi. Your phone can just do it. Imagine a utopia where you run across one of these frequently enough that you can actually save battery and your data cap just by leaving your Wi-Fi on. That would truly be a utopia, don't you think?
That is a very optimistic view of things, but I like that. I like that concept.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing openwireless.org. I would probably do it with the route. They have router firmware for a particular brand of router, and I have an old version of that. I'd probably just do it on that router and stick that router on separately, so I have a little extra division. But it is kind of, being a good citizen, sharing some internet.
Share the love.
Yeah. Well, that is it. That is it for this episode of Daily Tech News Show. Jeremy Kaplan can be found at digitaltrends.com. He's the editor-in-chief in there. You guys have got some really good stuff going on. Anything in particular you want to highlight?
We're going to be doing intensive reporting from CE Week over the next couple of days. So if you're curious about what's going on, you can't make it over yourself. We should have every little tidbit covered for you.
Now, am I right in thinking like you just took over there recently?
You are correct. Yes, it's been about 2.5 months now.
Well, the site's looking good. Congratulations. It's good stuff you got going on.
Thanks. Yeah, one of the things that I really like about it is the incredible design we have. A lot of blogs don't put the effort into the overall look and feel of it, and we do some great stuff there.
No, it's really, I mean it. It's a nice looking site, so well done.
Thanks, Tom.
Digitaltrends.com. Also, thanks to our 4,150 patrons who are keeping the show alive. I almost said on the air. I guess if you're listening over Wi-Fi, we are on the air. bit.ly/helpdtns if you want to know more about that. Our patrons are the folks who make the show possible. So if you're not a patron, thank the patrons. I even got an email from a guy today who's like, I would like to be a patron. I can't really afford to back the show right now, but I tell everyone I know about it, and that is just as good. Do that as well. We appreciate support in any form you can give it to us, and thank you for that. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit. Get in there. Join those 2,700 people. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Email us feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. More from CE Week tomorrow with Andrea Smith. See you then.
Visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
And that's the show. Thank you, Jeremy.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great having you on. I hope you had a good time.
I did. I'm sorry the phone was ringing constantly. I don't know who kept trying to get in touch with me there. I don't know if you heard that.
That happens. We're pretty used to it, so don't worry about it. Could have been worse. It was not a crying baby or a barking dog, so it's actually much farther down the list.
Very good.
Did not distract at all. Well, I usually just hang around and chat with the chat room afterwards, so I'm going to keep the stream on, but you take off whenever you need to. I appreciate you taking the time you have.
I have a meeting with the Consumer Electronics Association that I have to go get to.
Tell them I said hello.
I'm going to give them a piece of my mind.
Tell them I said hello.
But thanks.
Awesome,
It's been a blast, actually. I had a good time.
Thanks, Jeremy. I hope we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, I'd love to come back anytime.
All right. Cheers. I'm going to start editing the show now.
Toby Pinder had Hippa Hippa Hooray.
That's pretty good. I like that one.
His full title was, I edited that. His full title, I think, was Medical Regulations ? Hippa Hippa Hooray. But I think we're all savvy enough just to go with.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good edit.
And then what else?
Jeremy was great. Glad we were able to get him
awesome. I loved it. You always know anyone with, like you said, with Doc Brown as their avatar is going to be A-okay.
Exactly.
No question about it. Let's see. What have I got? I'm still in shock from yesterday's ladder incident. Gotta focus. Come back.
The broadcast is dead?
What?
Tell them broadcast is dead.
Well, that must be...
tell them broadcast is dead, I think. You scared me, Bruce S.
Great Scott!
You frightened me.
1.21 gigawatts!
Did you see the... I think it was Brian Brushwood that tweeted the 3 DeLoreans turned into a stretch limo?
Oh. I will have to find that.
Amazing.
Amazing. Let's see. What else is going on? Oh, what happened yesterday, asks metalfreak. Ha ha ha. What didn't happen? Yesterday was like the day of all Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde all wrapped up in one day.
I don't understand.
Well, I have to repeat the story that I told to Tom beforehand, but since
I'm just like trying to get the show set up, and she starts throwing these things out, and I'm
I know.
Yeah, what? Wait, what?
Tom's in the middle of actually doing work, and I'm like, guess what? I fell off a ladder.
Right, and it's sort of like, oh, so you fell off a ladder. Wait, you fell off a ladder?
Wait, what?
What did you just say?
Yeah.
Not like I made
That's how I
cupcakes
test if you're
this morning.
actually listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trimming the verge of. I have these beautiful like
Josh
like
Topolsky.
yes, so I was trimming the verge in front of my cute little cottage. They're like this beautiful array of leaves and stuff, and I was up there on a ladder, and I was doing on a ladder what you're never supposed to do on a ladder, which is sit on the top of the damn ladder.
Ah, gotcha.
Stupid, but it was very convenient, and I was holding onto the thing. So of course I go to get down, and the ladder goes, pew, gone, and I grab onto the beam outside my house, and I'm hanging off it like Indiana Jones, and I was like, all right, I've got about 2 seconds.
That was the second part that then sunk in for me. It was like, wait,
Yeah.
no, seriously? You're like,
So like I didn't fall, and I didn't fall on the ground. I literally grabbed for the beam and made it.
all
And was
power
like,
to the
I'm
beam.
so cool. And then I was like, no, I still have to jump down. So I did, and it hurt, but not as much as falling straight over. And then someone almost hit my dog with a car because my dog got out the house. So that was like all in an hour. So instead of like trying anything else productive for the day, we all went to Stella Barra and got hammered.
Good for you.
Well, I mean, gosh, if you're gonna have that kind of hour,
Seriously.
you better just go drink.
You got no option left at that point.
It was like intense. And it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, it was. I have to say, like, now I have greater faith in myself because, like, I was literally gonna fall and crack my head open, and I caught the beam, and I was like, yeah, I'm so cool. But yes, do not stand above this step. I agree, BioCow.
Oh, yeah,
No, it
BioCow
wasn't-
has the link to the DeLorean limo. Nice.
Oh, nice. Let's see.
I like how you're like, I did the thing that you were never supposed to do, but I was holding on.
Look at that.
Yeah,
That's
it's impressive,
amazing.
isn't it?
Wow. I am so glad that this exists. I'm bookmarking it to show my husband.
Oh, yeah. Matt'll love that, I would think.
Well, why are we not to the point yet with technology where I can say, like, Siri, please send this image to Matt? Are we? And I just am not paying attention?
You could try it. It might work. It's supposed to be able to do that.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think Siri and I are very good friends. Like,
I find Siri quite disappointing, personally.
yeah.
And it's not because of the voice recognition. The voice recognition is actually really good. She almost always knows what I'm saying. It's that
Right.
whenever I ask her something, she's like, oh, I can't find that. Or she gives me a wrong answer. Like when I
Right.
said, where's the nearest, what's that yogurt place? Pinkberry. Eileen wanted to go to Pinkberry. Like, where's the nearest Pinkberry? And she gave me a location, like, over in South L.A. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not anywhere. That's not near. I know there's more close to me. Anyway.
Yeah, I think
I can-
I think it's one of those things where, you know how like sometimes you have a friend and they're like a friend of a friend and you're like, I could either put the effort into getting to know my friend of a friend or I could just wait for a better friend to come along. Like, for me, Siri's like that friend that you see at every party but you know you're never really going to be friends with.
You're like, she's fine. I don't mind
fine.
seeing her when she shows up on
Yeah.
my phone, but I'm not really gonna, call her to hang out.
Right, or like entrust her with anything I really need.
Yeah,
instead.
like ask her to watch my dogs. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, now Google Now, on the other hand, is like your nosy aunt who knows everything about you and isn't afraid to let you know. They're like, you're late. You have not left your house on time.
Christmas is like, I love how we put gender on technology. Well, Siri is a female
Siri
voice in the
did.
U.S.
Yeah.
So I
They
think that
didn't
was
make,
fair.
like, Simon. They didn't give us a Simon option.
Can you can change it though?
Can you? Can you Simonize Siri?
I don't know. I may be thinking of.
Your GPS in your phone circa 2005?
Yes, I may be thinking of Waze. So,
I found that my relationship with Siri improved like dramatically when I made her Australian.
Oh, you changed her accent.
Change her accent.
That you can
And
do
then-
that. You can't change her gender. Okay.
Yeah. So that was better. Like, at least then she was telling me things that were wrong in a cooler voice. All right.
Where is her settings?
I don't know. Oh yeah, apparently you can change it to the male voice.
You
says
can.
Chat room.
Oh, okay. Yes, voice, gender. Excellent. All right.
I would like them to just have like free range AIs. So like if I wanted Cortana, I wouldn't have to get Microsoft, or if somebody wanted Siri, like I just want them to live in the verse and be available.
Well,
like
you can do that.
TaskRabbit.
You can do that with Google Now. You can get the
Right.
Google app, but it's not integrated into the OS. That's the iOS problem. But you can. I've actually done that where I ask Siri a question and then I launch the Google app and I ask a Google Now a question, and Google Now
Right.
usually does better.
Like, when you ask Google Now a question, is it in voice form? You actually ask it out loud? Yeah,
You
just
say,
like
you could say with the app on iOS, you can say, "Okay, Google." And I probably just launched a few phones. I apologize for that.
Sorry. Okay, someday, some Saturday, I just have to sit down with the phone and start talking to it. And like I feel like there's some
Hi,
whole list
phone.
of there's
That
some
should be
whole
your
list-
Sunday update next week.
right.
Just you talking to your phone.
Hi Siri.
Hello,
Google
Siri.
Now.
What have you
Wish
been
you
up
could
to?
name. Could you name your Google Now like a Tamagotchi?
I don't know
So
about
it would
that.
Respond to your commands. That'd be cool.
I wanted to say "by your command" back to me in Cylon voice.
Yeah.
By your command, bio cowmand. See that, bio cow? I did that for you.
See, Metal Freak, you're right. I feel like I'm getting so close to really wanting an Android phone, as opposed to the phone I have now. But it's such a switch. That's the thing. They just keep you because inertia of phone.
Well, there are a whole industry and articles out there of like how to prepare yourself for the switch.
Yeah.
So you could train up. It's actually not that bad.
Not me. It's how to prepare your husband.
Is that it?
Yeah,
That's
your
a
husband.
whole. That's a
who's
whole
like,
other world right there.
Yeah. If you're on a, I wouldn't want to be on a different phone than my family member.
Well,
I don't know.
The way I got my wife to switch to Android was I got her a job at Google. Now I had nothing to do with her getting a job at Google. I shouldn't even joke about it.
You just damned yourself to like 17 hells.
Yeah, totally. I had
Oh,
absolutely nothing. And actually, she was an Android user before that.
Yeah, didn't she do a show called All About Android?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. So you have
none
the
of
minor
that story
advantage.
was true.
None of
It
that
was-
story was true, and you have the minor advantage in the spouse race when it comes to technology.
Well, what's funny is she used to be ahead, like on Android news. She was ahead of me. She'd be telling me things before I'd seen them a lot. But now that she's at YouTube, she doesn't do that anymore. So I'm telling her stuff, like especially non-Google stuff, obviously. But like Amazon Fire Phone. That evening, I was like,
Right.
"Did you see the phone?" She's like, "What phone?" Whoa,
Mm.
you don't even know.
Oh, it's a big company.
Yeah. Well, and she's doing different stuff now.
Yeah. Plus, there's like a whole. Like there are whole departments there at that company that are like devoted to, solving time travel. Like I'm pretty sure that somebody's like 10% time at Google is like involves like, how do we do time travel?
There was a time travel story today about some simulation of sending quantum effects back in time. But they
Right.
weren't. I mean, it was important, but it wasn't real. I'm like, do it for real.
Metal Freak, why does Matt need to use the same type of phone as me? I guess he doesn't. We just happen to be on one of those family plans. And I think I tried to like separate us
You
once.
could be
and
on
it
a
didn't
family
take.
plan and both use different OSs.
Really?
Yeah. As long as you're on the same carrier. And all the
Yeah.
carriers have iPhones now, so it's not like it used to be like, oh, well, I'm on AT&T
Yeah.
because I want to use an iPhone.
It's like
So,
one of
yeah.
those things like changing banks, though. And the other good reason is that we are still the grandfathered in people with unlimited data.
So you can continue to keep that and your family plan and get a new phone. The only hitch is you'd have to buy an unlocked phone. So it would be much more expensive.
Yeah, no.
Unless you get like a Moto X, which unlocked is still very reasonable.
Right. See, again, what I hear you saying this, and I hear myself saying, yes, I will also never change banks. Like,
It's not as bad. Changing carriers is like changing banks. Changing phones, not as bad. The difference is your apps. They've locked you into the apps, and so you'd have to go find those same apps and reinstall them. So it's more
pay
like
for them.
moving house
right.
than it is like changing banks, because
And
you're going to
also
have to
pay
unpack all of
for
the
all
apps.
those. Right?
What's
You
that?
have to pay for all the apps again?
What apps do you pay for? I don't pay for.
Well, I don't pay for a lot of apps, but there are a couple apps I pay for.
Yeah. If there are apps that you really love that you have to pay for, you'd have to pay
Like
for.
Mark Maron's podcast comes in the form of an app, and you pay premium for that.
But do you pay for the app or do you pay for his service?
Oh, that's true. You pay for the service.
Because if
So
you pay for the
vary by
service,
username.
then you just download the free app and log in, and then you still got the.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things that I'll know when it's time because my iPhone will have been hurled across a room, and then that'll provide me the opportunity to switch to Android.
It's time.
It's
We're going to
time!
the store.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
Yeah, I'm not trying to talk you into it. I'm just.
No,
If you wanted to do it.
I'm trying to talk myself into it. It's just I think that again, proliferation. I mean, so far in the chat room, I've been offered the Nexus 5, and like 3 other phones. So to me, I know there are different phones, but like I have no way to independently judge. I have to do like a whole comparison of which one is good and blah blah blah, and
Which one
everybody
you'll
says
like
something
and
else
all
is
that.
good,
Yeah.
which one I like, how big the Samsung phones are huge. Like I guess I'm one of those jerks that just sticks with their
And here's the thing. The easiest thing for you to do is to stay with the platform you have. Even if you get a new iPhone, you're going to download your backup and everything's going to be there and it's going to work similarly and it's going to change very slowly so the changes won't be like crazy, whereas switching to any other platform is going to be a big change because you're switching platform. But it also works the other way with Android. If you were a Samsung Galaxy user, you'd feel exactly the same way, and it would be even worse because if you switched to another Android phone, you just log in with your Google account and it automatically installs all the apps and everything. So it's even easier to stay in their universe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think another thing too is Google is so interested in my data that they already have enough of it. I feel like
right. No, Apple's not interested in your data.
yeah, that's the one thing I like about Apple is they're too stuck up to be interested in my data.
They're very interested in your data. Don't let them fool you. They're the ones like data, whatever.
So they don't even. They're so above it. They don't even have the debate. They just do it.
Exactly. Google feels bad about it while they're taking all of your data. Apple's like, well, of course we have all your data.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a depressing conversation.
It was like the headlines today. Like,
Look,
here's another security breach. Here's another government intrusion.
Yep. Nexus is the way to go. Motorola G review, Moto X. See, how would it would become like a full-time job. Wait, I've just described our actual job. Never mind.
Actually, that could be a good, I don't know, series or
Jenny
something.
picks a phone.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right, I am out of the blog post, and I'm going
All right.
to say goodbye to the video. Thank you, video, for being amazing.